Hey guys, I hope you're having a great week so far. Today I'm very excited about this video because I'm going to be showing you how to do mandala dot painting, which looks like this. You guys have probably seen it before. I have always wanted to try this, and finally I was at the craft store the other day and decided that I would just give it a go, so I hope you guys will enjoy this video. The supplies I'm using for this video are mini canvases. I got them on sale at Michael's, but you can use stones if you'd like. You will then need a wide brush for painting your surface, a small brush for mixing your paint and covering up any mistakes. As for paints, I'm using secondary colors such as red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple, but you can pick any colors that please you. You will also want a lot of white for making your paints lighter and for adding designs to your work. To seal in your work, I bought Mod Podge and gloss, but if you like the matte look, you can buy matte. I have a glass of water for keeping my brushes clean after every use, and finally the tools I'm using for my dot work are some drill bits. Since they have a flat round surface and come in different sizes, they are just perfect for this kind of work, and for really tiny dots I'm going to be using a kebab stick just because it works. You will also need a paint palette. I'm using about 5 colors, so I don't need a big one, and I recommend starting out with only a few colors for beginners. And last but not least, a cloth for wiping your brushes or tools off. I put mine under my canvas since my canvas is tiny. I know that was a lot to take in, but now we can start. I want my canvas to be purple, so I'm going to fill 1 cup with purple and then use my wide brush to cover the canvas. Depending on your paint, you may need several coats because for this canvas, I actually needed 3 coats before I actually had the entire canvas covered. So just keep working with it, wait for it to dry before applying another layer. Once the canvas is thoroughly painted, I will then find the center of the canvas. You guys have seen me do this before with my mandala drawings. I'm basically going to use a ruler on each corner, which will then give me the middle. I am then going to add a bit of white to our palette, and we will now place our first dot at the center of our canvas. I'm going to use a fairly medium-sized drill bit for this part since I plan on adding another color within this dot. I realize that paint can be somewhat thick when you first pour it, so it's a great habit to mix it before using it to help loosen it up. Cover only the tip of your dotting tool, and since the first dot really determines how your mandala will look, take your time with this part and just try to find the best angle that works for you. For me, it's looking under my hand. Now I'm going to use the smallest tool in the set, and we will add circles around our center. The best way to do this is to do a cross first in dots, and as you work, be sure to turn your canvas so that you always have the best angle of your work. When you have the cross done, add dots within and really take into consideration how big your tool is so you can determine how many dots will fit inside. For mine, I determined that only 2 more dots could fit between. 3 could have fit, but I didn't want to risk it. I'm then going to use the same tool and add dots between the dots. Really take your time if you're just a beginner. Going slow will help you form better circles and will help you make less mistakes, because I made a lot of mistakes when I first tried because I was just going too fast, so definitely take your time. I will now use some red, being sure to mix it first to help loosen it up. Once the red is done, I'm going to add some orange in, and with a bigger tool, I will add dots between the red dots we just did. Remember to only dip the tip in, since any more than that and you will get a bigger circle. Now we're going to switch over to our kebab stick and do what is called walking the line. Using the same orange, I'm going to dip the tip in and add the first dot to the top of the orange dot. This dot will be the biggest. Then I'm going to dot around the bigger dot, and as I do so, the dots will gradually get smaller. This is the effect I want. When you have one side done, do the same thing with the other side. Afterwards, I'm going to use the same tool and I'm going to use some white to fill in the gaps. I will now add the rest of my colors to my palette, such as yellow, blue, and purple. Since I want my purple to be darker, I will add a pinch of black to it until I have the shade that I want. Be sure to only add a little bit of black at a time because the smallest amount can make a huge difference. Starting with the yellow first, I will use a bigger tool and add that yellow in between the orange. The bigger your tools get, the easier they become to use, at least they are in my opinion, except if you make a mistake, it's much harder to cover it up, especially if you don't act quickly. So this is why it's important to always turn your work so you can see it better and to just take your time, and if you happen to make a mistake, be sure to act fast so you can clean it up. I'm now going to walk the line with the same yellow, and if at any point you want to make these dots bigger, you can do so by just adding more paint to your tool. They don't have to be this small if you want a different look. Going back with that white, I'm going to add a fairly decent sized dot to this space just so that the colors will pop more. Moving on to the blue, and using a much bigger tool, I'm going to add this in between the yellow dots, or at least as close as I can get the dots without touching. Using a smaller tool but with the same blue, I'm going to add dots between the blue dots we just did. If you're afraid of messing up, make sure your work is dry first before moving on to your next design. It will help prevent the colors from mixing and just overall give you a sense of reassurance if you're clumsy like me. I'm going to do the same thing with this part and walk the line. If you wanted to, you could also lighten up your colors with white and it will give your artwork a gradient effect. It's a small change, but really, really pretty. Now I'm going to go ahead and start using that deep purple, and I'm going to be using the biggest tool in my kit as well. And we're going to be putting these dots right over our smaller blue dots. I've left this to dry. Now I'm going to go ahead and add some white to the same purple, and we're going to add it to the center of our purple dot. This will give us the gradient effect that I was talking about, and it will leave your artwork glowing. It will also help balance out the dark colors that we have. Now I'm going to go ahead and make that blue lighter as well and do the same thing to our blue dots. I'm going to be using a tool that is much smaller so that we can see both colors. Since yellow is already bright, I decided that a lighter yellow wouldn't pop out enough, so I decided that I would just add some white instead to the center. So at this part, I was really trying to figure out how I could make this design stand out more, so I decided that I would make the blue paint even lighter and add it to some of the spare blue dots that we made before. I'm now going to go ahead and make that orange paint lighter and add it to the orange dots. The more you do this, the easier the whole process becomes. If it helps, draw your design out first so that you will have a better idea as to what to paint and what colors you're going to use. When you fill in most of your space, you can then start to add extra dots in where there is little color or just too much space. So I'm going to add in some white to these dots and then go back to that pale purple paint with the biggest tool and add the dots into the gaps. I wanted the yellow to spread further out, so I decided that I would try to fit them into this part just so that the outer part wasn't so dark. But after a while I realized that even with the yellow there, it still wasn't enough to make this painting pop, so it definitely helps to stand back and look at your painting just so that you can see what colors are missing. Since this part was too dark, I went back to that light blue and covered the darker circles with it, and it definitely seemed like it helped. The pale purple dots needed some dimension as well, so I went ahead and darkened the purple paint and added it to the center of the purple dots. The last dot will be added to our center dot, and I'm going to use purple for this part. Take your time with this part and your dot should come out fine. Finally, the only thing left to do is to wait for your painting to dry completely. It helps if you have a blow dryer on hand, and then you're going to want to cover it completely with Mod Podge. This will seal your artwork in and it will give it a layer of protection. And we're finished! What do you guys think? if you have the time, definitely give this a try because it's super fun. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you would like to see more of these kind of paintings, hit the like button and subscribe for more. I want to thank you guys for your support, and I'll see you soon. Bye!